Will you marry me, Emily?
James, I don't know what to say.
What do you mean? You don't know what to say?
I'd been planning for the last few months. I looked around at the familiar bustling streets of Chicago, a city that had become a backdrop to my life with Emily. 7 years of memories, laughter, and love. It felt like a lifetime, and yet I still couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. I checked the time again. She was running late as usual. I tried not to let it bother me, but part of me was nervous. Was this too soon? Too perfect? Was she ready for this? I smiled to myself as I thought back to our first date in Chicago. We were both so young, just figuring out who we were, and yet here we were, on the brink of something bigger than we ever imagined. She was my world, and I was ready to make her my forever. The engagement ring burned a hole in my pocket, but I had to wait for the right moment. It had to be perfect. "Hey babe," Emily's voice pulled me from my thoughts, and I looked up. She stood there, looking as beautiful as always, a bit out of breath from running to meet me. "You're late," I said with a grin, standing up to greet her. She smiled back, her green eyes lighting up. "Sorry, traffic's a nightmare. You know how it is." I nodded, though my nerves crept back in. There was so much I wanted to say to her, but I had to save it for the right moment. We walked to the table, and as I pulled out her chair, I could feel her warmth as she sat down. "I've been thinking a lot lately," I started, the words leaving my mouth before I could stop them. "About us, about everything." She raised an eyebrow, clearly intrigued. "Oh, and what have you been thinking?" I paused, unsure of how to put it into words. "You know, these 7 years, they've been incredible. I can't imagine my life without you in it." Her lips curled into a soft smile, and for a moment, I could feel the weight of the world lift. She was everything I had ever wanted. But then, something nagged at the back of my mind. A slight unease that had been there for months now. Maybe it was just me overthinking. Maybe I was just nervous about this next step. It had to be perfect. "So," I continued, my voice shaking just a bit, "I've been thinking about the future. And I want that future to be with you." Emily's expression softened, her eyes searching mine. "James, what are you?" I reached into my pocket and pulled out the small box, the one I had spent weeks picking out. I opened it, revealing the ring inside. Her eyes widened as she gasped. "Will you marry me, Emily?" For a moment, there was nothing but silence. Her mouth opened and closed as if she wanted to say something, but no words came out. My heart pounded in my chest, but I didn't dare look away. She blinked a few times, her expression unreadable. "James, I don't know what to say." I froze. "What do you mean? You don't know what to say?" She shifted in her seat, looking away for a second. "It's just, I wasn't expecting this." She sighed, running a hand through her hair. "Can we just talk for a minute? I think we need to have an honest conversation." The words hit me like a ton of bricks. My stomach dropped, and the room seemed to tilt sideways. I sat back down, suddenly unsure of everything. "What's going on, Emily? What's happening?" She took a deep breath. She hesitated, her voice breaking slightly. "I've been feeling lost lately. And I've been keeping something from you. I don't know if I'm ready for this. For us." I stared at her, unable to process the words coming from her mouth. "What are you saying?" She looked at me, her eyes filled with something I couldn't quite read. "I think we need a break. I don't want to hurt you, James, but I need time to figure things out." My mind went blank. The words didn't make sense. "A break?" I repeated, my voice barely above a whisper. "After all this time?" She nodded, her gaze flickering to the ring I was still holding. "I don't think I can say yes right now. I need space." I felt a rush of emotions. Betrayal, confusion, frustration, but above all, the cold emptiness that settled deep in my chest. 7 years. 7 years, and this was how it ended. "Emily," I whispered, trying to hold on to whatever strength I had left. I thought we were okay." She stood up quickly, her chair scraping against the floor. "I'm sorry, James. I never meant for it to happen like this. I need some time." I watched her walk away, the weight of her words hanging in the air. As she disappeared into the crowd, I couldn't shake the feeling that everything had just changed in an instant. I looked down at the ring in my hand, the one I had so carefully chosen. The one I had been so sure about. I felt the tears burning in my eyes, but I refused to let them fall. Not here, not now. Everything was falling apart. I was just about to slip the engagement ring into my pocket when I heard the faint buzz of Emily's phone from across the room. I'd told her to leave it on the table, but she'd left in such a rush earlier to grab some coffee that I hadn't thought anything of it. The buzzing was persistent, like the universe itself was trying to grab my attention. I glanced over at the phone. It was face down, but the vibration was strong enough that it had slipped slightly to the side. I don't know why, but something told me to pick it up. Maybe it was just my curiosity, or maybe it was the unease I'd been feeling these last few months that I couldn't quite place. I hesitated for a moment. Emily had never been secretive about her phone. She was always an open book with me until recently, at least. I picked it up. The screen lit up, revealing a new message. The name at the top of the text thread made my stomach drop. Tom. I stared at the screen, not fully understanding what I was seeing. The messages were casual at first. She was telling him about her day, about something she'd eaten for lunch. I read through a few lines before my eyes caught a message from Tom. I miss you. I've been thinking about you a lot lately. My heart skipped a beat. I should have stopped there, but I couldn't. I kept scrolling, each message digging deeper into my gut. There were words like, I wish you were here, and maybe we can meet up when you're free. The messages went back months, hidden beneath layers of friendly chatter. I didn't want to believe it. My hands were shaking, but I kept scrolling, desperate to find something, anything, that would make this all make sense. There was the message that stopped me cold. I can't wait to see you again. I know you're still with James, but it doesn't feel like it's enough. I miss you. My breath caught in my throat. Emily? My voice sounded weak, barely a whisper, but somehow she must have heard it. I could feel my heart pounding in my chest. She appeared in the doorway, her smile faltering when she saw me holding her phone. What's wrong? She asked, stepping into the room, but her eyes immediately flicked to the phone in my hand. I didn't say anything at first. I couldn't. The words wouldn't come. I just held the phone up, showing her the message. Her face turned pale. Her eyes darted away from me, avoiding my gaze, and that was all the confirmation I needed. You've been seeing him, haven't you? My voice was barely audible, but the anger rising in my chest was undeniable. Emily swallowed hard. She opened her mouth as if to speak, but nothing came out. She just stood there looking at me, looking at the phone, her hands trembling. Answer me, Emily, I said, my voice shaking now. You've been seeing him, haven't you? She finally took a step forward, but her words were soft, as if she were afraid to break me with the truth. James, I didn't mean for it to happen. It just did. I'm sorry. I couldn't breathe. You're sorry? I repeated, my voice rising in disbelief. You're sorry? You've been cheating on me with him for months and now you're sorry? Her eyes welled up with tears and she reached for me, but I stepped back out of her reach. No. Don't touch me. I felt the anger rise like a tidal wave. All this time, 7 years, and I had no idea. I had no clue. Why, Emily? I demanded, my voice cracking. Why him? Why Tom? She wiped her eyes, trying to gather herself. It wasn't planned. It was just, I don't know. It was so easy to slip back into old habits with him, to fall into something familiar. I never wanted to hurt you. I wanted to scream, to throw something, anything. You never wanted to hurt me? Then why the hell didn't you tell me? Why the hell didn't you end it when you knew it was wrong? I didn't know how, she sobbed, her hands shaking. I didn't know what to do, James. Shut up. I cut her off, my voice almost a growl now. You don't get to explain this to me. Not now. Not after everything. I turned away from her, my mind racing. I was seeing red, but there was no clarity. No way to make sense of any of it. My entire world had just shattered in front of me, and all I had left was this bitter, empty feeling in my chest. You've destroyed everything, I said, my voice low, almost detached. Everything we built, gone. Just like that. James, please? Her voice cracked. She was right behind me now, and I could hear her breathing unevenly, but I couldn't turn around. I couldn't look at her. I looked down at the phone again, at the message that tore everything apart, the one that had destroyed the trust one thought we had. The betrayal was real. She'd done this, and she had no idea how much she had just broken me. Don't touch me, I repeated, my voice barely a whisper now. Don't touch me, Emily. I don't even know who you are anymore. I left. I had to leave. I had to get out of that apartment, out of that place, away from the woman who had been my world for so long. I couldn't stay there. Not with the image of her and him burning in my mind. Not with the crushing weight of the betrayal suffocating me. She called after me, but I didn't answer. I didn't look back. I didn't know how long I'd been sitting in the apartment, staring at the same spot on the wall. The room was silent, except for the occasional sound of cars honking outside. My phone was on the coffee table, buzzing every few minutes with messages, but I didn't want to look at it. Didn't want to know what Emily was saying. What was there to say anyway? I had already seen the truth. She was gone and she wasn't coming back. I let out a sharp breath and stood up, pacing the small living room. The floor felt cold beneath my feet, the emptiness of the place swallowing me whole. Every inch of the apartment reminded me of her. The couch where we'd spent countless nights together. The kitchen table where we'd shared breakfast. Hell, even the damn fridge with her favorite snacks was there, mocking me. How could she do this? I picked up my phone, staring at the screen, debating whether to respond to the texts or just shut it all out. There were a dozen from Chris and I knew what he wanted. He wanted me to talk. To tell him what had happened, what I was feeling. But the truth was, I didn't even know what I was feeling. I barely knew who I was anymore. The phone buzzed again. I glanced at it, my finger hovering over the screen. I wanted to throw it across the room. I wanted to scream, to punch a wall, to do anything that could release this fucking pressure in my chest. But I couldn't. No one deserves this. My thumb swiped across the screen, and before I could stop myself, I opened the message from Chris. Chris, man, I'm coming over. You need to talk. I threw the phone down onto the couch. No, I don't, I muttered to myself. I didn't want to talk. I didn't want to hear it. I didn't want any pity or advice. But Chris showed up anyway, banging on the door. I didn't answer right away, but the knocking didn't stop. I stood there, frozen, staring at the door. James, come on, man. I'm not leaving until you open up. I took a deep breath and opened the door. Chris stood there, his face full of concern. His usual smile was nowhere to be found. I stepped back, letting him in without saying anything. Bro? He trailed off as he walked in, looking around. I'm sorry. I can't imagine what you're going through right now. Don't, I said, my voice hoarse. Just don't. He stopped mid-step and looked at me. I could feel his eyes on me, but I couldn't look at him. I couldn't stand to see anyone's pity, especially not his. It's not like that, man. I'm just here for you. I've got your back. I scoffed, grabbing the remote from the coffee table and throwing it across the room. How can you have my back, Chris? How can anyone have my back? She's been lying to me. Lying to my face. For months. And I didn't even see it. Chris stepped closer, but I backed away, my chest tight with anger. You can't keep doing this to yourself, man. You've got to talk. You've got to let it out. I shook my head, feeling a knot twist in my stomach. I don't even know who I am anymore. Everything's been a lie. All this time. 7 years of my life. Gone. You're not gone, man, Chris said quietly, but I couldn't hear him. I didn't want to hear him. I thought I knew her. I thought I knew everything about her. But I didn't. She's not the woman I thought she was. She never was, I spat, my voice rising. James? No. You don't get it, Chris. I turned away from him, pacing again, unable to keep still. She said she was sorry, but you don't apologize for something like this. You don't apologize for cheating on someone. For betraying them. There's no coming back from that. Chris stayed quiet for a moment. Yeah, there's no excuse for what she did. But don't do this to yourself, man. Don't let her win. You're better than this. You're worth more than this. Don't tell me that, I snapped, turning back to face him. Don't tell me what I'm worth. You don't know how it feels to have someone you love rip everything away from you. You don't know what it's like to be completely fucking blind to everything around you. James, I know you're hurting, Chris said, his voice steady. I know. But you can't let this destroy you. You've got so much more going for you. You can't let her take that from you too. I clenched my fists, my body shaking with rage and frustration. I don't even know who I am anymore. I don't know what the hell I'm supposed to do with my life now that she's... I stopped myself. I was screaming. I didn't even realize it. Chris was standing there watching me carefully. You've got me, man. And you've got your life. Don't let her ruin that. Everything's ruined, I muttered under my breath, sitting back down on the couch. I didn't want to say it, but I couldn't help myself. What am I supposed to do now? What's left for me? Chris didn't respond right away. He just sat down next to me. I looked at him, my voice barely a whisper. I thought I had it all figured out. I thought she was the one. But now I'm just lost. I'm here, man, he said, his voice softer now. We'll get through this. But you've got to let me in. You've got to let me help. I shook my head. I didn't know if I could let anyone in. I didn't know if I could trust anyone ever again. But Chris stayed. He didn't leave. And for the first time in what felt like forever, I wasn't completely alone. I couldn't sleep. The darkness of the room felt heavier than usual, pressing against me, suffocating me. The constant buzz of my phone from the coffee table was maddening, but I didn't want to look at it. I already knew who it was. Emily. Of course. She'd been texting and calling nonstop ever since I walked out on her that night. But I couldn't bring myself to respond. I got up and paced the room, my mind racing. What do I do now? The ring sat on the coffee table, mocking me. I'd been planning to propose with it, to give it to her, and now I couldn't even bring myself to touch it. How could she do this? I wanted to throw it, to destroy it, but I couldn't. It was my fault too, right? Maybe if I had noticed something sooner, maybe if I hadn't been so wrapped up in the idea of us, I could have stopped it before it ever happened. But no, she was the one who had made the choice, not me. I sat back down on the couch, running my hands through my hair. Revenge. It was all I could think about. I could feel the anger still bubbling under the surface, gnawing at me. The temptation to make her feel what I was feeling was so strong. I could confront Tom. I could make him regret it. Make him see that he had no business coming into my life, into our life. But then I thought about Emily. What do I even want from her? Her face kept flashing in my mind, her smile, the way she used to laugh when I made a joke. What happened to that girl? I sighed heavily, picking up my phone. It buzzed again, a text from Emily. I stared at the screen for a long moment before opening it. Emily, James, please, can we talk? I need to explain. I love you. I never meant to hurt you. I laughed bitterly. Of course she loved me. After everything, she still loved me. She had the nerve to say that after what she did? What do? I tossed the phone aside and buried my face in my hands. My mind was a mess, caught in a whirlwind of anger, confusion, and hurt. Should I cut her off completely, never speak to her again, and just move on? Or should I try to salvage something, to forgive her, even though every part of me screamed not to? I couldn't stop thinking about all the promises we'd made to each other over the years. The way we'd planned our future together. The way she'd made me feel like I was her whole world. And now it was all shattered. I should hate her. I should walk away and never look back. But a part of me still loved her. I hated that. I hated that I couldn't just turn it off like a switch. Another buzz. Emily, James, please don't do this. I'm sorry. I messed up, but I'm still here. I want us to be okay. Can we fix this? I stared at the screen again. She wants to fix this? After everything? I couldn't take it anymore. My phone hit the floor with a loud thud as I stood up and started pacing again. The urge to yell, to scream, to break something was almost overwhelming. But I couldn't. I wasn't like that. I never was. But what if I just let karma handle it? I remembered something my father had once told me. James, sometimes life will hit you hard and you'll want to fight back. But the best revenge is to let life do it for you. Let things fall into place, and trust me, it always comes back. I had no idea if that was true. Part of me felt like it was just a way to avoid confronting the truth. A way to convince myself that letting go was the answer. But was it really? I sank into the couch again, staring out the window. The city lights flickered outside, distant and cold. I didn't know what to do. A few minutes passed before I heard the sound of my phone buzzing again. Chris, man, I get it. You're hurting. But don't let this ruin you. You need to decide what's best for you. Not for her. Not for anyone else. Just you. I didn't even know how to respond. Chris was right. This wasn't about Emily. This wasn't about Tom. This was about me. About figuring out who I was now. I couldn't let them define me. I had to make the decision that was best for me. I grabbed my phone and typed a response to Emily. James, I don't know if I can do this anymore. Maybe it's time we let go. For good. I pressed send before I could second-guess myself. It was done. The message felt like a weight had been lifted, but there was still a gnawing emptiness in my chest. I had made the decision, and I was terrified that it would haunt me. But I couldn't keep living like this. I couldn't keep letting her tear me apart. I needed to let go. And for once, that had to be enough. I hadn't heard from Emily in a few days. Not that I was counting the hours or anything. I was still processing everything. Too much had happened too quickly. My phone buzzed again, but this time I wasn't even angry. Just numb. I picked it up and there it was, another message from Emily. I hadn't responded to any of the others, but this one was different. Read. Emily, James, please. I need to talk. I'm so sorry for everything. Can we meet? Please. I stared at the screen. Sorry. I had no idea how many times I'd heard that word from her in the last few days. Sorry she cheated. Sorry she lied. Sorry she tore everything apart. And yet, here I was, still holding on to something that had already been broken. I couldn't ignore her forever. As much as I wanted to, I couldn't. So I agreed. When I showed up at the cafe where we agreed to meet, she was already sitting at a table, her hands folded in front of her, her head down. She looked smaller somehow. She didn't seem like the same woman I had spent 7 years with. But maybe that was just the version of her I'd built in my head. She looked up when she saw me and her eyes were swollen. It was the first time I'd seen her like this, vulnerable, broken. I didn't know what to feel anymore. "James," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I'm so sorry for everything. I don't know how to make this right." I cut her off. "No. You don't get to just apologize and make everything okay. You had every chance to stop this. To be honest with me. But you didn't. So don't sit here and tell me you're sorry. It doesn't fix anything." Her lips trembled and I could see the tears threatening to spill over. I know I messed up. I hurt you. I can't take it back, but I swear to you, James, I never meant for this to happen. It just happened and I don't know how to explain it." I leaned back in my chair, crossing my arms. "You're right. You can't take it back. But what's the point of explaining? What's the point of making excuses now? You've already done the damage." "I wasn't thinking," she said, looking down at her hands. "I was selfish. I let my feelings for Tom get in the way of everything. And I never wanted to hurt you, James. I love you. I really do." I shook my head. "Don't say that. Don't tell me you love me after everything. If you loved me, you wouldn't have done this." Her face crumpled and she looked at me like I had just slapped her. "James, please. I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't even know if I can forgive myself. But I need you to know that I never meant for this to happen." The pain in her voice, it almost made me believe her. Almost. But I couldn't let myself feel sorry for her. Not now. Not after everything she had taken from me. "I don't know if I can ever forgive you, Emily," I said, my voice flat. "What you did, it's not something I can just brush off. And I don't think I want to try. Maybe I'm just too broken to fix." Her hands shook as she reached across the table. "James, please. I can't lose you. I love you. Please don't walk away from us." I didn't know what to say. I didn't know if there was an us anymore. I couldn't be the person she wanted me to be. Not after this. "I'm not sure I can do this anymore," I muttered, almost to myself. "I don't know how to be with someone who's already destroyed everything." The silence between us was thick, suffocating. She pulled her hand back slowly, her face crumpling further. The tears spilled over now, streaming down her cheeks. She didn't say anything for a long moment. "I'm sorry," she whispered again, barely audible. "I'm so sorry, James. I know it's too late, but I never meant to lose you." I didn't know what to say. I wanted to comfort her. I wanted to tell her it was going to be okay. But it wasn't going to be okay. Not now. Not after everything. "You already lost me," I said quietly. "And I'm not sure there's anything left to save." Her shoulders sagged as she wiped her eyes. "I know," she whispered. "I know I've lost you." I stared at her for a long time. I wanted to hate her. I wanted to be angry. But all I felt was emptiness. A kind of hollow ache that I couldn't shake. I didn't know what came next. I didn't know if there was even a next for us. Finally, I stood up, the weight of the conversation sinking into my chest. "Goodbye, Emily," I said, the words tasting bitter in my mouth. Her eyes met mine, and for a moment, I saw something I hadn't expected, genuine regret. But it was too late. As I turned to leave, I couldn't help but wonder if there was any part of me that would ever be whole again. I sat at the bar, nursing my drink, watching the crowd move around me. The noise of the bar seemed muffled, and the neon lights flickered in my peripheral vision. I should have felt relief, at least that's what I told myself. I'd made my decision. I was finally starting to move on. But there was a part of me still stuck in the mess that was Emily and Tom. I glanced at my phone. Another message from Emily. But I didn't open it. I'd stopped responding a week ago. I couldn't do it anymore. The lies, the pain, everything that had come before. It felt like I was cutting away the last remaining piece of myself that had been tied to her. But then there was Tom. The asshole who had taken everything from me. I should have hated him. I should have been angry, but instead, a strange sense of satisfaction crept up in me. I knew karma had to catch up to him eventually. It wasn't like I had any plans to do anything about it. But watching him crash? Felt deserved. My phone buzzed again and I ignored it for a moment, but curiosity got the better of me. I opened the message only to see a news article that immediately grabbed my attention. Tom Miller's business partner files lawsuit, claims fraud and embezzlement. I blinked at the screen, my stomach sinking a little. Tom. Of course. It wasn't enough that he'd taken my girlfriend, he had to destroy everything else he touched too. It wasn't just Emily. The guy had fucked over everyone in his life. I leaned back in my seat, the corners of my mouth twitching. It wasn't a big surprise, but the satisfaction it gave me was undeniable. He'd been living his life like he was untouchable, like no one could stop him. And now here he was getting caught in a mess of his own making. I couldn't help but laugh a little. It felt good to know he was finally paying for the damage he'd done. I'd never planned on revenge. It wasn't like I had the energy to deal with that. But watching him unravel was something else. Watching his world crumble in front of him made me feel like maybe, just maybe, the universe wasn't as unfair as it had felt these last few weeks. "Hey man, you alright?" the bartender asked, snapping me out of my thoughts. I nodded, taking another sip. "Yeah, just thinking." "You sure? You've been staring at that phone for a while." I looked down at the screen again. I couldn't help but feel a little vindicated. "Yeah, just some news." The bartender raised an eyebrow but didn't push. I didn't feel like explaining. I set the phone down on the bar top and leaned back, letting the quiet settle in around me. For a moment, it almost felt like everything was returning to normal. Almost. But then my phone buzzed again, and this time it was an alert for a new email. I clicked it open, my mind still half on Tom and his problems. As I read the email, a familiar name caught my eye. David, my old mentor. The email was short, but it packed a punch. "James, I don't know if you've heard, but Tom's latest venture is about to implode. I've been watching the numbers and it's all coming apart. His entire team is turning against him. Word is, his business partner is going public with the fraud charges." I almost smiled as I finished reading. "Karma's a bitch," I muttered under my breath. It was like everything Tom had built was finally falling apart. The lies, the manipulation, it was all catching up to him. He was losing his business, his friends, and anyone who had ever believed in him. And Emily? She had to be dealing with this too. She had tied her future to his, and now her choices were coming back to haunt her. I didn't care about her anymore. At least that's what I told myself. But the satisfaction of seeing Tom's life go down the drain. It felt like justice even if it wasn't my doing. Another text buzzed on my phone, and this time I hesitated before opening it. It was from Chris. "Chris, you've seen the news? About Tom? Dude's finally getting what's coming to him. It's crazy how fast things are falling apart for him." I paused before responding, unsure of what to say. Chris had been my lifeline through all of this. Maybe I didn't need to dwell on it. But I couldn't help myself. "James, yeah, it's wild. Honestly, it feels like watching someone get what they deserve." I read Chris's response as soon as it came in. "Chris, don't get too caught up in it. You're moving forward, right? You've got a life to rebuild." It was a simple reminder, but it made sense. I was moving forward. I had to. Tom wasn't my problem anymore. But seeing him suffer, seeing him get caught up in his own lies, it was hard not to feel like it was some sort of karmic retribution. I finished my drink, paid the tab, and left the bar. As I stepped outside, the cool night air hit me, and for the first time in what felt like forever, I felt like I could breathe. I wasn't sure where my life was heading, but one thing was for sure. I wasn't going to let Tom's downfall be the last thing that defined me. I woke up early that morning, too early probably. But it wasn't the pain from the night before that kept me awake this time. It was something else. Something unfamiliar. I stood in front of the mirror looking at myself. A couple of days ago, I couldn't even look myself in the eye. I was a mess, broken, betrayed, and unsure of everything. But today? Today I didn't feel completely lost. I wasn't whole, but I wasn't as shattered as I had been. I grabbed my gym bag and left the apartment, heading straight to the gym. The place was quieter than usual, but that was exactly what I needed. I started with the basics. Weights, cardio, anything that would burn the anger and frustration out of me. I pushed myself harder than I had in months. Sweat drenched my shirt, but it felt good. My body was sore, my muscles aching in a way that didn't feel like punishment, just the release of everything I had been holding inside. When I finally finished, I collapsed on a bench, breathing heavily, looking up at the ceiling. The exhaustion wasn't just physical. It was emotional too. But in a strange way, it was comforting. I had to rebuild. And that meant putting in the work. Not just at the gym, but in my life. It wasn't going to happen overnight. I knew that. A few days later, I met up with Chris at our usual spot, a small coffee shop on the corner. As soon as I walked in, I saw him sitting by the window, his usual grin plastered across his face. It felt nice, like things were finally starting to fall into place again. "Hey man," Chris greeted me, standing up to shake my hand. "You've been looking better lately. Getting back to yourself?" I sat down across from him, taking a sip of my coffee. "I'm trying." "You're not just trying," he said, his eyes serious. "You're doing it. I can see it. You're not the same guy you were a couple weeks ago." I chuckled bitterly. "I don't know about that, but I'm getting there." He raised an eyebrow. Good. You deserve to be happy, man. You're not gonna get there by holding on to the past. Yeah, I muttered, swirling my coffee around in the cup. I've been working on that. I've noticed, Chris said, leaning in. I'm glad to see you putting in the effort. You're not just letting things go. You're actively making the decision to move forward. I didn't answer right away. I had no idea what moving forward looked like yet, but I knew I couldn't stay in that dark place. I needed something else, something to give me purpose again. So, what's next for you? Chris asked, breaking me out of my thoughts. You've been hitting the gym. That's a start. But you're not gonna just work out and forget about everything. What's the plan? I took a deep breath, realizing that I didn't really have a plan. I don't know, I admitted. But I'm thinking about reconnecting with some people. Maybe. Rachel. Chris leaned back in his chair, his expression softening. Rachel? That's a big step. I nodded. Yeah. But she's the one person I know I can talk to. The one person who's always had my back. Chris studied me for a moment before speaking. I think that's a good idea. But you need to make sure you're doing it for the right reasons. Don't rush things. I'm not rushing, I said quickly. I don't know. I've been thinking about the past a lot and Rachel's always been a part of it. She was there before everything went down with Emily. Maybe talking to her will help me move on. Chris looked like he was about to say something else, but the words seemed to hang in the air. He finally just nodded. I think it's good. Just don't put too much pressure on it. Take it slow. That night I called Rachel. It had been a while, too long. I didn't even know how the conversation would go, but I knew I had to at least try. Hey, I said when she picked up. It's James. James? She said, her voice soft but warm. I wasn't expecting to hear from you. How have you been? I sighed, rubbing my forehead. It's been rough, but I'm trying to get things together. She was quiet for a moment before responding. I'm glad to hear that. You know, I've been thinking about you. I know things didn't end the way we wanted, but I'm always here for you. I let her words sink in, feeling the weight of them. Thanks. I think I need that. I've been focusing on myself, on getting better. But, I was wondering if maybe we could meet up sometime. Just talk. Rachel was silent for a moment. I'd like that. I've missed talking to you, James. It's been a long time. A small weight lifted off my chest. It felt good to hear her say that. Yeah, me too. How about we grab some coffee this weekend? I'd love that. The next few days passed in a blur of gym sessions and long talks with Chris, but I couldn't deny that a part of me felt lighter. Rachel was the bridge between my past and the future I was trying to rebuild. I didn't know where things would go with her, but for the first time in a long time, I felt like I was on the right path. Maybe, just maybe, I could move on from all of it. I sat at my desk in the small, dimly lit office, staring out the window at the city skyline. It was a crisp, clear evening and the streets below were bustling with people, alive, moving, living their lives. For the first time in a long while, I didn't feel like an outsider in my own life. A month ago, I couldn't even get out of bed without feeling like the weight of the world was on my shoulders. Now, I was here in New York taking charge of my own future. A new job. A fresh start. It felt like the beginning of something I hadn't thought was possible after everything that had happened. The phone buzzed on my desk. I glanced at the screen and of course it was Emily. I hadn't heard from her in days and I knew exactly why she was reaching out now. I picked up the phone, stared at the message and almost laughed. Emily, James, I've been thinking a lot. I miss you. I know I messed up, but please, can we talk? I want to fix this. I felt a mix of anger and sadness ripple through me. Part of me wanted to text back something sharp. Something that would make her feel what I was feeling. But I didn't. I couldn't. I put the phone down and leaned back in my chair. My mind wandered back to the night I left. The moment I walked away from her, I knew it was over. I couldn't go back. She had made her choices and I had made mine. We were both stuck in the aftermath of decisions we had no right to reverse. It wasn't just about her. It was about me. About finally making choices that put me first. It felt good to be in control again, to be the one calling the shots in my life. I picked up my phone again, scrolling through the messages. But instead of replying to Emily, I opened the email from my new boss. James, we're excited to have you on board. I know this is a big change, but I believe you'll fit right in here. Looking forward to seeing what you can bring to the team. I smiled at the message. A real opportunity. A chance to build something new. I could feel the rush of excitement building inside me. The power was shifting. I wasn't the man I was a few months ago, stuck in a toxic relationship. I was stronger, clearer, and more determined than ever. But that wasn't to say the past didn't creep up on me sometimes. The messages from Emily, the memories of what we once were, still lingered in the back of my mind. They didn't disappear overnight, no matter how hard I tried to bury them. But now, the thought of reconciling with her felt hollow. Another buzz. I hesitated before I looked at it. It's probably Emily again, I thought. Emily, James, please. I just want closure. You owe me that much. I sighed, staring at the screen for a moment. Closure. It was funny how now, after everything, she was the one asking for it. After all the lies, the betrayal, now she wanted closure? I thought back to the last conversation we had, to the look on her face when I walked away. She had looked so small, so helpless. But it wasn't my job to fix that. It wasn't my responsibility anymore. She had broken it, whatever it was, and I wasn't going to try to stitch it back together. I typed my response quickly without thinking too much about it. James, I don't owe you anything, Emily. You had your chance. I stared at the message for a moment, feeling a strange sense of finality settle in. I didn't even feel angry anymore. Just done. I hit send, and for the first time in a long time I felt lighter. I didn't care what Emily had to say anymore. It was too late for that. I was moving forward and there was no going back. Later that evening I sat at a small bar in the city, nursing a drink. The atmosphere was calm, quiet. For once, I wasn't thinking about everything I had lost or the pain I'd endured. I was thinking about what was ahead of me. I had made it. I was here. I was living. And I hadn't felt this free in a long time. Another round? The bartender asked, breaking my thoughts. I smiled and nodded. Yeah, keep it coming. I watched as the bartender poured the next drink, his movements smooth and practiced. I took a sip when he handed it to me, savoring the warmth in my chest as I leaned back in my chair. I could feel the shift. The change was real. It wasn't just about the new job or being in a new city. It was about the way I was starting to feel about myself. Confident. Oh, free. Another text buzzed, but I ignored it this time. I wasn't going to let the past hold me back. I wasn't going to give anyone the power to make me feel small again. I was moving forward. And for the first time I felt good about it. The phone buzzed on my desk and I couldn't ignore it. I didn't want to, but I couldn't stop myself from looking. The message was from Emily and I'd been expecting it. A final plea. She'd been quiet for a while, but I guess the silence had gotten to her. Emily, James, I know you're angry. I know I've lost you, but I need to see you. Can we talk? Please. I stared at the screen. The same words, the same desperation, only this time, something had shifted in me. I wasn't the same person who would have jumped at the chance to meet her, to try to fix things that had already been broken. I thought about the last few months, the chaos, the betrayal. I thought about how much I had suffered, how much I had changed. But I also thought about how far I'd come. I wasn't sure if I had forgiven her. But I knew one thing for sure. I didn't need revenge. I wasn't going to let her back into my life to tear me apart again. I typed out my reply before I could overthink it. James, I don't know if I can meet you, Emily. I've moved on. I stared at the message for a long time, as if my fingers would suddenly change their mind and type something else. But they didn't. The words felt final, and in that moment I realized they were true. A few minutes passed before the reply came in. Emily, I can't lose you, James. Please, just one last chance to explain everything. Please. I stood up from my desk, pacing the room. I wanted to throw the phone, to shut myself off completely from everything that had once been her. But the truth was, the anger was fading. The hurt was fading. I wasn't as consumed by it anymore. I couldn't keep running from her. I couldn't keep avoiding it. I had to face it, whatever it was. I agreed to meet her. The cafe we used to go to, the same one where we had shared so many moments. I arrived first, sitting at a corner table, my fingers tapping on the surface. I tried to push away the nervousness, but it was there. This was it, the last conversation. I saw her walk in, her eyes scanning the room before they landed on me. The moment she saw me, she froze, like she wasn't sure what to do next. She came over slowly, sitting down opposite me. She looked different, broken, yes, but also like she was trying to piece herself back together, just like I had. James, she started, her voice shaky, I've missed you. I've thought about this day every single day since you left. I know I ruined everything, but I'm asking you to look at me, to listen. I looked at her for a moment, taking in the way her eyes darted away when I met her gaze. I didn't say anything at first. I didn't know what to say. Do you ever think about us? She asked, her voice softer now, more vulnerable. Do you ever miss what we had? I clenched my jaw, looking away. I don't know what we had anymore, Emily. I used to think I did, but I don't. Her face crumpled and she took a deep breath, her hand trembling as she placed it on the table. I never wanted to hurt you. I never wanted any of this. I've made so many mistakes and I wish I could take them back, but I can't. I can't undo the damage I've done. I met her gaze this time, and for the first time in months, I didn't feel the burning anger that used to consume me. There was just emptiness, and a strange sense of peace that I hadn't expected. I've been angry for so long, I said quietly. And for what? What's it going to change? What's it going to fix? I paused for a moment, letting the words sink in. I'm not holding on to the anger anymore, Emily. I don't want revenge. I don't even want an apology. I just want to move on. I want to let go of all of this and finally be free. Her face softened and she nodded, tears welling up in her eyes. I understand, she whispered almost to herself. I understand. She looked down at the table for a moment, taking a shaky breath. When she looked up again, there was a quiet acceptance in her eyes, as if she knew it was truly over. I'm sorry, James, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. I'm so sorry for everything. I gave her a small nod, the finality of it all settling in. I had no more words left. I didn't need them. We sat in silence for a few moments and then I stood up. Goodbye, Emily. I walked out of the cafe, the door closing softly behind me. I didn't look back. I didn't need to. As I stepped out into the cool air, I felt lighter than I had in months. It wasn't because I'd found forgiveness, or because I had made peace with everything that happened. It was because I was done. I had finally let go. And for the first time in a long time, I was free. I sat back in my chair, staring at the city skyline. It had been a while since I felt this clear-headed, this at peace. The noise of the city below me seemed so distant, as if everything around me had faded into the background. I had no idea what was next, but for the first time in months, I didn't feel afraid of the unknown. My phone buzzed. I grabbed it, already knowing who it was. Chris, dude, you heard about Tom? I sighed. I had heard. Everyone had heard. Tom's downfall had been swift, but it wasn't like I felt sorry for him. James, yeah, saw the news. About time. The text came in a second later. Chris, I can't believe how fast it all went down. His business partner went public, and now he's being investigated for fraud. They say he's about to lose everything. I leaned back again, tapping my fingers on the armrest. It felt almost surreal. After everything Tom had done to me, to so many people, seeing him fall apart was strange. But I couldn't bring myself to feel bad about it. In a twisted way, it felt like the universe had given me some sort of justice, without me having to lift a finger. James, it's karma. You reap what you sow. I didn't even feel the need to say more. Chris had been with me through everything, and now that Tom was facing the consequences, it was like the final chapter was closing. I'd moved on. And Tom was paying for what he'd done, not just to me but to everyone who had trusted him. I clicked off the text and opened up the news app on my phone. There it was again, the headline I'd been expecting for days. Tom Miller, once a rising star in tech, faces public backlash as fraud charges surface. The article detailed how Tom's business had imploded, his partners had abandoned him, and the mounting legal troubles he was facing. I didn't know if I should feel satisfied, but part of me did. Maybe it was the relief I'd been craving for so long. The closure I didn't even realize I needed. A memory hit me out of nowhere, the night I confronted Emily, the day I walked out. She had cried, begging me to stay, promising me that everything could be fixed. But I'd already known. It was too late. Tom had already won in his mind. But he didn't realize the cost. The thing is, he never got to savor his victory. His success was built on lies. And now it was crumbling around him. I remembered how Emily had looked that day, her face full of regret and desperation. I hadn't been able to see it then, but I understood now. She was living with the consequences too. Tom wasn't the only one who had lost everything. I put my phone down, running a hand through my hair. I couldn't say I was glad Emily was suffering, but I couldn't say I cared either. She had made her choices, and now it was her turn to deal with the fallout. I thought back to the messages she had sent me after I cut ties. I'd read a few, but then I'd stopped. Every message felt like another attempt to drag me back into the past. Another attempt to rewrite what had happened. But I wasn't going to let her do that to me anymore. I'd already won. I didn't need to look back. The phone buzzed again. This time it was a call from Emily. I hesitated, but eventually I answered it. I didn't owe her anything. But I felt like I should hear what she had to say, even if it was just for closure. James? Her voice came through, small and shaky. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. For everything. I know it's too late, but I need you to know that I never wanted to hurt you. And I never wanted any of this. Tom, I cut her off. Stop. It's done, Emily. There was a long pause, and I could almost hear the weight of her regret in the silence. I know. I just needed you to know that I'm sorry. I messed up and I'm living with it. I'll always regret it. I didn't respond immediately. Part of me wanted to say something sharp. Part of me wanted to tell her how much she'd hurt me. But I didn't. I just couldn't bring myself to care anymore. I'm glad you're sorry, I said softly. But that's not enough. You can't undo what's been done. It's over. And I'm done. She stayed silent for a moment. I could feel her breathing on the other end of the line. I wasn't sure if she was crying or just accepting it. Maybe both. Goodbye, Emily, I said, my voice steady. I wish you the best, but I've got to move on. I hung up before she could say anything else. I didn't need to hear it. I didn't need anything from her. I had made my peace. I stared out the window, the weight of everything finally lifting off my chest. The past wasn't going to define me anymore. I was free. Free of the anger. Free of the pain. And free of them. I didn't need vengeance anymore. Watching Tom and Emily suffer wasn't my victory. My victory was in moving forward. I had already won by letting go. I stood at the edge of the park, my hands shoved deep in my jacket pockets, looking out at the trees as they swayed in the wind. The air had that crisp bite to it, a reminder that winter was on its way, but I didn't mind. For the first time in a long time, I felt like I could breathe. The city was buzzing around me, but I didn't feel overwhelmed. It was like everything had finally clicked into place. I had a new life now. A life that was mine. James, you okay? Rachel's voice broke me out of my thoughts. I turned to see her walking toward me, a smile already spreading across her face. Yeah, I said, feeling the smile tug at my lips. I'm good. Really good. Rachel was standing there, dressed in a cozy sweater, her hair pulled back loosely. I didn't even realize how much I'd missed her presence in my life. She was calm, steady. She had been a reminder of who I was before all the mess with Emily and Tom, someone who deserved more than the chaos I'd been living in. She stood next to me, her shoulder gently brushing mine. Good to hear, she said softly, looking out at the park. I'm glad you're finding peace. I nodded, my gaze following the people walking through the park, some of them jogging, others just enjoying the day. For a moment, I thought about how far I'd come. I wasn't the same guy I had been before. I was stronger now, emotionally and mentally. I didn't have to carry that weight anymore. Rachel and I had been seeing each other more lately, and things were different this time. It wasn't rushed or forced. It was simple. Easy. We were building something slowly, but it felt real. I've been thinking about what you said. I began, breaking the silence. About moving on. About making the most of what we have right now. She raised an eyebrow, a small, knowing smile on her lips. I didn't say much. But I'm glad you've been thinking about it. I have, I said, taking a breath. I'm not looking for a fairy tale, Rachel. I just want to be happy. I want to feel whole again. And with you, I feel like I'm finally getting there. She looked at me, her eyes soft but full of warmth. I feel the same way, James. I think we're both in a better place now. I smiled, turning to face her. It felt natural now, like we were building a foundation based on mutual respect and understanding. There were no games, no hidden agendas. Just honesty. I didn't expect this, I admitted. I didn't think I'd be able to let go of everything and actually move forward. I thought I'd be stuck forever. Rachel reached for my hand, squeezing it gently. I think we both thought we'd be stuck forever. But sometimes the hardest part is just choosing to move forward, even when it's scary. Her words hit me in a way that felt like they'd been sitting in the back of my mind for weeks. She was right. The hardest part was choosing to let go, choosing to forgive, not just Emily but myself. And now that I could finally see what was waiting for me on the other side. I'm glad we're doing this, I said, squeezing her hand back. She smiled, her eyes lighting up. Me too. I'm really glad. We stood there for a while, just enjoying the peacefulness around us. The city seemed like a distant memory, and the noise felt like it belonged to someone else's life. In that moment, I wasn't defined by my past. I was defined by who I was now. I've been looking at places, Rachel said after a while, breaking the comfortable silence. Thinking about getting a place of my own. Maybe we could. I cut her off, unable to help myself. You know, I've been thinking about that too. About a place for me. For us. Her eyes widened a little and she gave me a soft, surprised smile. Really? Yeah, I said, a smile tugging at my lips. Maybe it's time we stop living in the past and start building something for the future. The way she looked at me in that moment made everything feel right. Like we were finally on the same page, ready to take that next step, no hesitation. She stepped closer to me, her breath warm in the cold air. "I'd really like that," she whispered, her voice soft but filled with so much promise. "I think we both deserve it." And for the first time in a long time, I truly believed that. I didn't need anything from the past to define who I was now. I didn't need revenge or any unfinished business to hold on to. All I needed was the present and the future that was waiting for me. I turned to face her, my heart lighter than it had been in months. "Let's do it, Rachel. Let's make this our new beginning." She smiled up at me and I could see the hope in her eyes, the same hope I felt in my chest. "Together?" "Together?" I said, feeling a weight lift off me. I could already see what our future could look like. A future full of promise without the scars of the past holding me back. It was time. Time to move forward. Time for a new chapter.